Hello, I'm Troy Parker, President of Innovative Labor and Cleaning, and this is another Mental Health Monday. Really, it's a Mental Health Monday, a motivational moment, and a life lesson all rolled into one. You've heard me talk many times about how obstacles, challenges in life bring out the best in us. And it is through these events, these setbacks, obstacles, whatever you want to call them, that we're able to build maybe particular skills or other aspects of our character that will help us move forward in life. But many times people I meet and people on our team come to me and they ask me, what about death? Or they'll say, some tragedy, and they'll usually always bring out death. Now, death, it is an obstacle and it's a setback, because anytime you lose someone you care about, it is a challenging time. I know this firsthand because this past August, my mother passed away. Me and my mother were very close. Even as a young boy, my mother, even though I had the learning disability, the stuttering and whatnot, and I was not one that looked like would be a high achiever, my mother would always tell me, you can do anything you want, you just have to believe it. Now the child, because you had so much faith in your mother and you looked up to her, anything she would say, you just believed it. Even though my mom never really told me, well, how I was supposed to do this. But whenever I'd get into a challenging situation, I would just remember her saying, hey, if I put my mind to it, I could do it. When I was incarcerated, as I've mentioned in other videos, none of my family came to see me for probably the first 5 years, except for my mother. My mother began coming to see me right away. And it is these visits while I was in prison that really helped our bond grow and helped me to really learn a lot of life's lessons. My mother would come down and visiting hours, it was probably about 5 or 6 hours you could visit. And she would sit down and we'd eat snacks, because when you went to the visiting room, you were able to get, things out the vending machine that you normally couldn't have when you were inside the prison. So, I'd just eat a bunch of chocolate chip cookies, brownies, anything I can get my hands on. And we would talk about, how's everyone in the family and things like that. Then we would start really having the heart-to-heart talks. My mother would tell me about how she was brought up, things I didn't know. Because when you're growing up and there was 3 of us and plus you worked, you knew about your parents, but you really didn't know what made them like they were. My mother shared with me a story about how when my father passed away in 2004, how she stayed angry and upset. And this was probably in 2012 we were talking. So it was almost 8, 9, 10 years. She said, I stayed upset for years at your dad because I felt he just left me. And she said, one day I'm not going to be here. And I don't want you to let my passing stop your life. She said, when you get out of here, and hopefully I'm alive, and my mother was when I got out, I was able to spend even more time with her once I got out. She said, I want you to live your life. She said, I spent, 5, 6, 7 years just being upset with your dad until I realized that really I was just being selfish, that me and your dad had a great life. And I know, he was tired and he was, sickly in his, last few months or so of his life. And it was selfish of me wanting him to stay here. And many times when a tragedy like this happens, or any type of tragedy, when there's a loss, we compound it and make the loss even greater. Now, you may have lost a parent, a child, a spouse, but then many times people stop living for long periods of time due to the loss or some other incident. It could be some type of attack, a car accident, and then there becomes 2 losses. There's the loss of the person that has passed away. Then there's the loss that you're giving yourself by stop living. When my mother shared this with me, she said I could have gone on with my life and done more, but I kind of just stopped living. She talked about how she would drink to try to find happiness, and that was just a dead-end street. And it was one thing that really helped me to see that when a challenge happens or a tragedy, that we still do have a choice. Now, it's not an easy choice, and I won't tell you that it is. My mother's passing hit me hard. But I remember our conversations about it, and I remember how she told me, don't stop living. I'm always with you. We all have to transition. And she used the analogy of high school, which was weird because my mom usually never used these type of analogies. She said, you remember when you were a junior in high school and you were about to be a senior. And I remember, because once you become a senior, all the underclassmen look up to you. And she said, but if that group of seniors that was before you does not leave and go out into the world, go to college or whatever, you can never step up and be a leader to those that are your underclassmen. She said, death is a lot like that. She said, me and your father will leave, but it's up to you guys to step up, me and my 3 brothers, and lead your children and, you know, the rest of the family. She said, if you spend your time wallowing, depressed and whatnot, then you're not doing the responsibility that others that came before you did for you. It really hit home. So though my mother has passed away, and some of you may be dealing with this, or, you know, may have someone who's sickly, keep in mind that your parents, your loved ones provided leadership, guidance for you, and that is the same thing that they're expecting you to do for those in your family and, you know, your siblings, or it could be your own children, your wife. And we have that commitment and that responsibility to those who are our underclassmen and are looking for our leadership. Also, remember, though you may have a loss of a loved one, or maybe, you know, a health issue, you know, takes your health from you, and you might have to go through that challenge. These are times to look inside and really look and see maybe where your life is headed and maybe some changes you can make. I know I did, and I spent a lot of time after my mother passed, you know, thinking about the lessons she taught me, even while she went into the nursing home and she was there, you know, for 4 or 5 years, and we would still talk, but then it got to the point where my mother wouldn't recognize me because she had dementia. But I still had comfort in just going, sitting with her an hour or so, even though we could not communicate like we used to. There's a comfort of her just being there. And I can still close my eyes and envision us sitting together, and it still brings me comfort. Now, I can't do that anymore physically because she's no longer here. But I'm glad for all those moments and times that we had together, and you should cherish those and think about them and enjoy them and look at them as positive moments in your life, but also draw from them the strength to carry on and provide the same love and comfort that your loved ones provided for you, or your underclassmen that are looking up to you. I hope this helped. And as always, remember, it's up to you to make your life matter.